Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Yeah, this is just a chill session, but yeah. So basically, Derek and I knew each other for quite a bit since high school. So we've been in tech for quite a bit now. So very nice to see you guys learning today, learning React. I think it was pretty hard, so you guys won't. Anyways, so today this talk is quite informal, but basically just to tell you guys about how to be a software engineer, because that's what you guys are all here for, right? And maybe motivate you a little bit, even though I'm not a motivational speaker. But yeah, but it's something that I'm doing to sort of pay for it, because back then when I started it's quite hard because I was like completely lost. So that's something to show you guys. So yeah, so it's quite straightforward. There's going to be 3 sections. So first, I think a lot of us when we started, we were like very curious, like what do you actually do as a software engineer? So I'll show you what I actually do, which is nothing much. And then interviews, like how do you get through interviews, because that's the doorstep to become a software engineer. And then to do what you should do from today now on to get to your end goal. So yeah, so the end goal of each section is, of course, you understand what the software engineer. And then the second section is like how to prep for interviews, because tech interviews is very hard, as you guys know. And then number 3 is how do you instill like daily habits to improve, because this is going to be a long-term thing, right? If you're doing so, yeah. So how do you like do the daily stuff to be better? So a little about me. It's not about me, it's about you guys. But just to let you guys know, I was a career teacher as well. I used to work for Singapore Airlines. That was me and my sugar mommy. Just kidding. That was my manager. Looking at the page. But yeah. So this was me. I was exactly like you guys, career teacher. I think I had quite a real experience. But yeah, being a software engineer is pretty cool. I just feel like working in an airplane. It's me in Bali. This was, I don't know, I think somewhere in Italy maybe. But yeah, so being a software engineer is, I think you guys maybe watch like videos and stuff. It's really how it is. Pretty nice, get to work for anywhere. So I work for a fairly small like Singaporean startup. I'm Malaysian, but I work there. And I also run my own side business, which everything can be done from the laptop. So as long as there's a Wi-Fi on the laptop, I'm basically good to go. That's why actually I'm also working today, but I'm giving a talk. Yeah. So yeah, so that's a bit for me. And then life as a software engineer. So there are a lot of things that you do as a software engineer. You might have seen like TikToks or YouTube's or this kind of memes. So of course, the one is you have to build features, which is the bulk of what you guys will do when you start as a software engineer. This is just the bread and butter of it. And then debugging, which is also a huge part of it, which is finding bugs and then fixing. So when you start, it's very normal for you to get assigned to bugs, because you tend to not know much about coding yet. So usually when you start, you are just fixing bugs. So don't get discouraged, it's quite normal. Then reading documentation. I'm sure you guys have done it quite a lot, but basically reading documentation is like the part of my day. And then code review. So sorry, code review is part of my day, which is basically, you guys know, it's like a process whereby a junior engineer or a senior engineer, it can both ways, can be like a senior reviewing a junior or a junior reviewing a senior. But basically, it's a process whereby you review code, and then after which, hopefully good code gets merged into production. And then there's, of course, the most boring part, meetings, which I fucking hate, which I usually never join and then reject. But that's just part of it, corporate stuff. So, of course, there's life cycle. This is a life cycle of how software companies usually work. So this is the bulk of it, development. So there's planning. So it starts with planning, usually like a product manager or someone who talks to the clients. So software engineers usually don't talk to clients because they don't like us and we don't shout out. That's what people think. But basically, the PM, so product manager, will talk to the client, and then they'll figure out what the client really need. And then they'll, during the planning stage also, they'll discuss with us, like, is it possible? So usually we try to say no because we don't want to do it, but you have to give and take. So yeah, and then it comes, once that's done, it comes to development, which is the process that we're talking about just now. So you build, and then you build, and then this two process is sort of like together. You build, then you send it out to QA, which is quality assurance, and then they make sure it's good. They test it, code review. So all that, once it's done, you ship. So example is like Instagram when they had like the close friends feature. So that is exactly the process. So someone decided that they want to add close friends to their stories. So they were planning, and then the engineers worked on it, and then the QA people tested it. Once it was okay, ship it, and then you update your app and you got it. So yeah, so that's the first part. And then there's, of course, the harder part, which is interviews. So of course, if you want to get there, this is the sort of the door to that step, the interviews. Okay, so ignore this. I didn't change this since January. But basically, these are my observation of what you need to know to join these kind of companies. So Optech is a bit hard now. So maybe ignore this and let's look at this. So these are what they usually ask in interviews. So you can see the startups. You can see that the common thing all three is DS and algo, which is data structures and algorithms, because that is the bread and butter of all software engineering. So if you're good at it, chances are you'll get a job in any of these companies. So this is really dependent on like what kind of job you want to look for. You want to look for like job at NMCs or startups or top tech. So startups is probably like the easiest one right now, because usually startups they don't mind paying lesser, but as long as you can start immediately and then you can figure out your own, there's not a lot of like hierarchy and processes. So the things that you need to know that they usually ask in these three. The first is data structure and algorithm, which is the most important thing. You just have to read it and study it. There's no way around it. And then portfolio is probably what you guys are doing, right? Yeah. So portfolio is very important. So you have to like work out like a list of projects to showcase like what you can do. So it's really good to do something like boring. Not boring, but something that showcases your fundamental skills in building, rather than doing something that many people are doing. So let's say something practical. So let's say you have a problem. Let's say you, like Haris, likes to go to gym, likes to track calories. So you build a calorie tracking app. So it showcases your problem solving skills. Like I have this problem, and I use code to solve it. So this shows so for me when I interview people, I feel like this is a very good sort of problem solving skill that I want, rather than someone that's building like a to-do list, which everyone will build. And then last but not least is take-home assignments, which is very normal now. So basically, it's easy for interviewers because we can just send out like 50 people asking them to take home assignments and then review their code after that. So be ready for this. But the benefit of the take-home assignment is that you can of course use AI, which we'll talk about later. So deep code is the de facto way of practicing data structures and algorithms. So there are like, if you go on YouTube, there's thousands of tutorials, and basically every problem is labeled easy, medium, or hard. So basically, hard is almost impossible to solve, medium is very hard, and easy is okay. Easy is hard. Yeah, easy is hard. And that's basically that's it.
That's very easy. It's alright.
Yeah, that's very easy, which is also easy, which is completely weird. Yeah. So basically, there's no two ways around it. If you want to be good at data structure algorithms, you gotta grind it. You gotta put in the hours. There's lots of tutorials online. Just follow them. This one, yeah. Should I help much? But just need to do it. And then of course, part of that is your DS and Algo. So because this is the basic computer science shit that you're supposed to learn, but don't be discouraged because you can. You obviously didn't learn this. You obviously need to go learn it on your own. It's normal to not know most of it. Most of the computer science people don't know it that much either way. Like me. And then something more advanced is system designs, which is rarely asked, but they sometimes do. So if you know, this is not like a must-have, but a good to have if you know, it's a huge advantage. If there were 5 engineers that were interviewing, only one of them knew, our hiring straight away. It's not like this guy knows this shit. Basically, a system design is how a user and like those, I don't know, like basically how an app is structured. So this is, I don't know what example is this maybe Stack Overflow maybe? Yeah. So basically, this is when a user requests and there's a load balancer server before it even goes to the database. This is the flow. So if you know this, it's very advantageous, but you don't have to know. Just tell you. And then take over the items which I mentioned just now. Oh, okay. So this is the how we see it. So you can see that, this is just the table form, same thing like this now. You can see that the end of that goal is basically the top of it. So my advice is to focus on this and algo, maybe 70%, and then focus on building projects, 30%. And then I think the question that I always asked myself back then was like, what do I need to know to get my first job, right? So this is exactly what I knew back then, which was basically nothing. I still got my first job. Yeah. So basically, front end you have to, front end is always the same. Front end is always HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then which framework you know, because I knew React. And then back end I still need JavaScript only. I knew Node.js. And then I knew MongoDB and Git, which is the band, you know. So don't be discouraged if you see there's too many things on Twitter or basically anywhere telling you have to know this, you have to know X, you have to know Y. It's all bullshit. This is what I knew and got me that far. And then last but not least, to do. First, for Derek, you guys have to finish your classes and assignments. Yeah, this one. Yes, please do. Right. And then, yeah, so these are some things that I think I did like really okay, that helped me a lot, which is, okay, let's first talk about interviews. So if you go on LinkedIn, there are like thousands of jobs and they say like 2 years experience, 3 years experience, just apply. You're not going to lose anything. If they ghost you, they ignore you, then so be it. And then mock interviews. This helps a lot if you have a friend who is in tech or anyone, or maybe even Derek, you can ask, or maybe Aris, you can ask them to give you a mock interview because then you can know like what you're going to get. Because a lot of people tend to get worried on like getting to their first interview. And then when they eventually get their first interview, they blank out and they fuck it up, which is normal. But it's good to go for more interviews because it helps you prepare. And I think there's one that I actually did, which is apply, go for interviews before you're ready. So you never be ready enough. And the only way to know how ready you are is to actually go for interview. Then you know what you're. And of course, learning, this is self-explanatory, which is you can learn a bit every day. So on the Saturdays and Sundays, you have to do a bit of coding. That's just how it is. And then of course there's networking. This one is a bit of a some people say it's good. I thought it was okay. But yeah, basically try to network, try to get to know more people in tech. Maybe they are looking for someone, I don't know, could be you, love you. But yeah. And then yeah, so this is like sort of like a good believer or like good habits. So these are the things that I was doing when I was starting out until today, helped me a lot. So of course, reading tech medium.com, which is like a huge collection of articles tech related. So when you read it, you tend to understand what's happening in the scene. Of course, now it's AI. If you read it, you definitely understand. There's Twitter as well. Twitter, Reddit, these are all the social media stuff. You follow the right people, you learn the right things. And then this is the most important, it is writing good code. So you want to not skip the writing good code part now, because of course in the future you can write trash code. But now you want to start with good habits to write good code. So next time you can write trash code, knowing that you write. So this is just a little bit of personal thing. So basically, this is from a book called Atomic Habits, which I believe a lot, which is basically just do good every day, do 1% every day, eventually to see exponential growth. And yeah, you've probably seen this. It's called roadmaps. I think it's roadmap.sh. Yeah. Roadmap.sh. So basically, it's like a list of things you need to know for front end, for back end. You don't have to know everything, but if you look at it and you roughly understand 60% of it, you're pretty much ready. And yeah, that's all. Do you have any questions? So, I think I met you before, man. Yeah. How's that? What's your question?
So, I think for your first appreciate, right? The question is, if you had to start all over again, how would you do it? Like, let's say, before you lost the coding skills, can you repeat this question? Yeah.
Okay, so question to you guys online, which I told you what is, what would I do differently if I start all over again? Right? I think I would, because back then when I started, I was very worried about like not knowing X and Y, which I mentioned just now. So if I were to start again, right, I wouldn't worry about that, because it's even today there's a new JavaScript framework every day. There's a new JavaScript package every hour. You cannot learn them all. And the only way is to make sure you understand your fundamentals correctly, because ultimately they all do mostly the same thing. So after all, most of it's the same.
Tim, I have a question. So you're a front end lead now, right?
I'm a tech lead now.
Okay, tech lead now in general, amazing. So Tim is a tech lead.
Oh yeah, I've got to say that, yeah.
Yeah, you introduced your friends to the So Tim is a tech lead now. So I believe you interview developers, right? Okay, what's the minimum tolerance to have before you take a bet on that?
What a good question. So, let me think. So like, for me, there are like certain things that I look for. Basically, number one is not technical. This is just attitude. You know, like whether this guy is able to work well, because you're gonna be working with him every day, right? So you obviously want someone that's like wants to listen. This guy's not too ego. So that one's just personal. And then number two is, for me, the most important thing is this guy is a problem solver. Like he knows how to solve problems, because ultimately coding is just right. I don't really care how good you are, like what you use, as long as we get to that. So most of the time, people with very good problem solving skills, they know how to use the correct tools to solve it. And the most efficient time. Let's say I want to build something for a client in 2 weeks. A really, really smart engineer is gonna be like, oh, I can do this, I can build this, I can scale this, this is just fantastic, excellent, like robust code. But can you do it in 2 weeks? Not, because it's two at once. So an even better engineer knows how to balance that and use something maybe less robust, but they achieve the same result way faster. So that for me is much better.
Okay, I actually have one more question, right? So a lot of the students who join us actually don't have the time. So the reason why they join us is because they want to get success or fast. They don't have 3 years to go into a degree, they have bills to pay, they need to provide for their family or their parents, right? So if you only have 1 month to learn the base skills to get a job, what do you fill your time with to get a job?
I will learn only JavaScript, which is, people will just hate me for this, but I will only learn JavaScript, because JavaScript It's all you need now because I hate JavaScript, but JavaScript you can build a backend, you can build every front end is basically JavaScript, and you can build mobile apps, you can build desktop apps. But basically, the principle is not so much on JavaScript, but rather narrowing down your vision. So if you try to learn too many things, there's Ruby, there's Python, there's thousands of languages, thousands of frameworks. Every day there's different things. There's Go, there's thousands of it. But if you narrow it down to one and you focus on one, and then that makes learning much easier because, like you said, you don't have a lot of time, right? So if you just learn one language and only do things in one language, I think that makes learning much faster. And just think about it, you can spend 1 hour a day, every night, just to build something small in your project. And you don't have to context switch because it's all in JavaScript. So that, I think that's something I'll
I got a question.
no question for you.
Singaporeans can ask.
You work in Singapore. Okay, so right, I believe you have invested a lot of people,
It's not a lot.
a fair amount, right? So it's like, do you see any difference when you talk to people with computer science degree?
Ah, that's a killer question. Let me think about that.
Nobody has a lot.
That's what you feel like. It's the fact that they're not, right?
Okay, so I think I have a very good perspective to this question because I am a bootcamper like you guys, but I also have a comp science degree. So I come from both backgrounds, so my opinion is actually unbiased. So comp science people are good at fundamentals. They're good at the DS and the algo because you spend years, like 2-3 years, learning the stupid things like pointers and all that stupid nonsense, which doesn't make sense. But the problem with comp science people is that they sometimes are not very adaptive. So that's the usual problem which I find like I wouldn't want to take a comp science person because they don't know much about like actual building. They only know things in theory. So what you can do to make yourself stand out is to build better because show that you can build X and Y in, because most of the comp science people, because for the first 2 years of comp science, you don't build anything. You just learn maths and useless stuff, which doesn't really matter. So the advantage of a bootcamper is that you can build much faster. So a lot of startups like bootcampers because number one, you're willing to join with less money, right? Obviously, because you just want your foot in. So a lot of bootcampers are usually cheaper. So from a business perspective, it makes much more sense. They're comp science graduate, which usually demand more. So that's number one. Number two, comp science people usually don't know much about new tech because you don't learn about React, you don't learn about
You don't learn GitHub.
you don't even learn GitHub, exactly. You don't even learn Next.js, they don't even know what's Next.js. But you can learn that. So that is like an advantage that you can. But again, like I'm saying, this goes back to my previous point, which is don't get caught up in the shiny object, which is very common now because people tend to get caught up with like learning the new and latest stuff. So I say find a good balance the boring stuff, but also don't get too far behind and not know the popular stuff.
Give us a timeline of your journey from the day you started, then when you went to junior front end, then senior front end, then tech lead, and what are you building now? So that students can have better understanding of the career path of a software developer.
So I started.
Sorry, can you please paraphrase my question?
Okay. Yeah. So Darren's question was give like how like my career was, right, from the day I started getting my first job to now. So I got hired as a front-end engineer, but basically it was a huge company, like a Chinese company, subsidiary of WeChat. And for the first 6 months, I didn't do any coding. Every day I just went to work, acting like I was coding. But eventually I got laid off. But the good thing,
Is it because of that?
no. Because Yeah, so basically it was 6 months. Okay, not 6 months, 4 months, 4 months. So that was my first job I got, which gave me quite a shock. I was like, this is software engineering. I don't do anything. Like, because they wanted me to learn the product, which is all in Chinese. So every day I would go to work and just open up the product and just check and like learn about it. And I didn't do anything. But I did learn Vue.js, which is the counterpart to React. And it's by a Chinese guy, so they all use it. So I did learn Vue.js, which helped me land my second job, which is a Vue.js and Laravel company. It was like a medium-sized company, Singapore. And then there is where I actually learned how to code. So I was a full stack. So that was 4 months, and then I was a full stack engineer for like a year. And then that was where I learned a lot because my mentor was pretty good. Taught me a lot of stuff. Taught me how to use Git, which I didn't really know. Because when you use Git, I'm sure you guys use Git already, right? When you use Git alone, it's fine, you make mistakes, okay. But when you use Git like a huge team, it's quite scary because you can do the wrong things and fuck things up really good if you not have. But yeah, so that's my second job. And then I went back to front end, which was my current company. I did Ruby on Rails. Maybe you guys heard of it. Maybe you guys have Ruby on Rails and React. And then I was a front end for like a year. And then eventually I became a front end tech lead. Not because I'm good, because the guy that was better than me left. Yeah. So, opportunity, take it. He left for a better job at the bank. And then eventually also the engineering manager left. That's why I'm a tech lead now. So yeah, so that's, I think total of that was like 4 months, 1.5 year, 1 year. So it's around.
So your journey has been 1.5 years. So what's next for you?
I'm also so basically on my day-to-day now, as you can see, I don't do that much. I do code reviews and I do. So I usually, do you remember the life cycle thing? Yeah. So I'm usually just here and here. Yeah. So the middle part, I don't do much. So today the middle part, that's why I'm here.
90% of the time is the middle part.
Yeah, 90% of the part, no, 80% of the part is the middle part. So, but it's also very important because most of the time the engineers don't know whether it's possible. Like when I just started out, all I wanted to do was follow the decisions, right? So the planning stage is important because the PM will usually ask me like, do you think it's possible to build this? Which I will ask, why do we need to build this? What's the ROI for this? So that is the bulk of it. I'm not involved, but basically what I'm involved is
What's next for you?
Oh, what's next? Yeah. So basically what I say this is because most of my time is not spent doing my actual job. So I actually work on my side business, which is AI related, and yeah, very like it.
Tell us how many have you shipped so far?
Can
they also be like you and start shipping their own startups on like how fast do you think to launch one now?
Okay, so yeah, so just a bit of context. I've launched quite a few like startups, most which have failed, but some made decent money, which are the ones that I'm running now. They are all semi-AI related because it's also an AI era now. It's more than easier to ship products quickly. So I don't think I'm that good at coding, honestly. I'm like slightly above average, but not as good as Marius. Nowhere near Marius.
You don't know how to work.
If you read my code, you'll be like, okay. But yeah, basically, other than that, I'm just slightly above average, and I can ship products really fast. Within 2 weeks, I can ship a new product completely, and yeah, and some of my friends that like me have So I have like a group of friends called, we're all indie hackers. So basically we all work remote. Some of them quit their jobs already. I haven't quit my job yet. Yeah, also that's what we do.
I think there's online quiz also if you want.
It's a long one. Oh, this is a good question. It's an excellent question. Okay, so the question is, what does take home mean? So
That's the question. So you say long one.
there's another one. So take home just means like a break home assignment lah. Basically, your interviewer will he will just send you an email and they say, and usually at GitHub they say, okay, this is the project. Let's say it's I don't know, like a crypto tracker. Can you build it in React to pull data from this API, and then email us when you're done. But be very careful with this kind of projects because a lot of times they set it up without, they don't really care, like they just set it up. So you end up reading the project and they don't even look at it. And you waste like your whole weekend. So be very careful at what kind of companies. Make sure it's like a decent company before you attempt, and make sure you ask questions before you start. Because you can be wasting your time and doing something better. Please.
In the messages after.
Yeah. Okay. There's like another question which is like, oh, I think it's quite relevant, right? Since it's like, how do you learn better in less time? Because we don't have much time, right? How do you consistently learn better with such a short time?
To add on also, is it that you need to know 100% of what the code?
No 100% of people.
Yeah.
Is related to that one.
Separate. I thought it's an add on there.
Wow, how do you learn better in a short time? Okay, just think about it. If you really don't have time, I feel like the minimum that you should spend a day is 1 hour is required. But you should plan ahead, like what you want to do. So basically, during your day job, think about what you want to do at night, which is what you want to achieve. So I feel like if you achieve one thing every day, let's say today you say you want to try use context in React. This is what you guys are learning today, right? Yeah, you want to try use context. You want to build an app that uses use context. I think you can do it in an hour. And if you cannot do it in an hour, then you tell yourself tomorrow, okay, today I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to watch another video on use context to really understand it better. And then eventually, you look at it, eventually after 365 days, you probably will learn more than 365 things. Okay. What's the difference between DS and Algo and leak code? I think DS and leak code and DS Algo is pretty much, it's a different thing, but leak code is built on top of DS and Algo, which is leak code is basically list of coding problems that you can only solve by knowing DS and Algo. So DS and Algo is like the base principle of it. Leak code is built on top of it. So leak code, there are a lot of type of problems. Usually they tell you, right? I don't know, I haven't done it. I done it like 5 years ago. But basically they tell you what kind of basically when after like some practice, you basically will know what the problem, what kind of DS and Algo the problem is testing. So let's say it's like a linked list question. So they will know, then you will know like this is a linked list question because linked list is a type of DS, and then what kind of techniques you use to solve a linked list question.
So most of the time, this is what people do when they want to go into FANG companies.
Yeah.
Like a big tech companies, then they want to grind this one. So I would say if you only have 1 month, 2 months, focus rather on your portfolio, like you mentioned just now, portfolio in projects that will help you stand out so much. Then once you get a job, then you can start learning this side.
Yes, totally agree. It's all right.
Is it easy to, let's say you apply for the job and then they put you, oh, you do backend, and then as you're doing backend, you're like, I don't think this is for me. I want to do something maybe front end. Is it easy to transition like that, or?
I think that depends on company. Yeah. Oh, sorry. The question is it easy to switch from backend to front end or front end to backend or vice versa in the company setting? So I think it's very company dependent. So if you're working in a small startup, yeah, usually it's possible. But in a bank, probably not, because once you're there, you're just there. Okay, one last thing before we end, right? I think Derek has requested me. So, how does AI actually affect your daily work? So, are you guys using AI now? Or using ChatGPT? So, how do you guys actually use ChatGPT? Are you guys using it to the full potential? Maybe
potential what does that mean?
troubleshoot. So you copy the prompt, you copy the error and paste it in. That's good. Okay. So that's good, but it can be better. So let me show you how. I didn't need to show you, but basically how I use. Okay, so to address the first question, another question is basically I think a lot of people who are learning coding, a lot of people also ask me like, why should we learn coding now? Because got AI everywhere. But can you hire an AI? Now you can't, right? And do I think an AI will replace me in the next 5 years? You never know. Probably never know, but probably not yet, because it's like just think of AI as like a tool. It's just another tool. It helps you a lot, but it's not you. In the end, you are still the person who needs to hold the tool. So you are still needed. So how do you make sure you don't get replaced by AI as a software engineer? By knowing good fundamentals, which can never be replaced, and by always learning the latest tools. Like students. So yeah, one thing. I don't know whether you guys know about this. Cursor. You guys probably have seen it. This is just some trash code that I wrote today. Basically, Cursor is like VS Code. It's basically a form of VS Code, but with an AI twist. So I'm not concerned like Cursor, but I'm showing you a feature which is you just highlight this, and then you can tell it to move the stringify.
Zoom in.
Yeah.
Okay, better?
Yes, excellent.
That's easy. Yeah. So okay, let's do it again. So this is the coding TypeScript. So let's say.
Wait, is this your company's code?
No. Oh, is it?
Employee mess of
Oh, yeah, it is.
Right?
Just act as if you never see it. So yeah, so you can do stuff like you highlight this in Command K, then you say, so this is a really simple example, like remove stringify, then it will remove the stringify method. Yeah. Or you can ask questions like Command L, Command L, what does this do? Yeah. So it explains what it actually does. And then there's also like this feature whereby you see like you'll know, like you sort of predict what you want to type next. So this is very helpful. But the most important point is don't get too reliant on it, especially when you're starting. I think it's okay for me to use it because I already know like I know the base principle behind it. But if you're learning Fred, I would recommend not to rely on it too much. You can ask it questions, but make sure you understand what it's doing. You don't want to copy blindly. Of course, half of our job as a software engineer is to copy and paste code, right? But at what point are you copying code blindly and actually learning it? So yeah, copy smartly and use AI smartly and responsibly. Okay.
Hey, any more questions from anyone?
Oh yeah, I think that's the last slide.
Do you use the prediction system on Cursor as well?
Yeah, I think that's the one.
You start writing something, it predict
Yeah,
the
so
code.
I think it's really good because it has it's context aware, so it knows actually what you're doing based on what kind of file. Like let's say you were on like your React file and then you move to the back end. It knows that you are trying to connect the data to the front end, so you predict the code based on that. Yeah, I use it. Yeah, use it quite a lot. Most of the time, actually. Yeah. Yeah. This is my social. Please follow me to do. Thanks. Yeah,
Okay.
that's my GitHub. You can
You
can see the trash code I write here. Most of it's really trash, but it works. But yeah, that's all. Thanks everyone for listening.
So no more questions?
Oh, there's one more.
I'll go ahead.
All right, sorry, you have to listen to me talk for another 5 minutes. But the question is, can you share on how the interview process was like for your first job? Oh, this is a great question. My first interview question was a really hard question, which is like, okay, so the process is really simple. It's like what I mentioned just now, which is they give you a legal problem and then you solve it. So how it usually works now is that the tech lead or whoever that's interviewing you, usually there's a HR, of course, those kind of like boring stuff, HR round or whatnot, just to ask you all the admin questions, like salary and all that stuff. And then you go to the actual technical interview. So technical interview is usually like this. It's usually nowadays 95% is online. So a guy which is usually uninterested, he will share you a link to a code pad, like a shared code pad. So a code pad is like, it's like a code editor, but both people can type. Yeah. So the interviewer can type and you can type as well. So usually he'll tell you, okay, this is a problem, like a legal problem, like something like this. You got that link already?
We use this thing called code walls.
Oh, code wall, okay. I know this is really easy. Yes. So something like this.
To me,
Or boss. Yeah. So it's usually like this. Okay, wait, sorry.
C++.
Yeah. Yeah.
JavaScript.
That's really
Sorry, I'm getting
okay. Yeah, so it's usually like this. So they'll literally sometimes they'll even copy the same thing. So if you're smart and you've done it, you know the solution. So they'll say this given array is integers, it's like a math formula. Then they ask you how do you find the solution. So the most important thing when it comes to this kind of thing, it's not actually the answer. It's the process. So it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's the journey. So to answer your question, this was exactly how this was my first interview question, which I couldn't solve because I don't even know what it was. I've never seen this before, but it's actually really easy. You can finish it in like 5 seconds, but I didn't pass the interview, of course. But basically I couldn't finish the problem. Basically, what they are usually looking for is not really the solution, rather how you get there. So a good way is to articulate what you're doing. So, and usually just think of interview as like a two-way process. It's not just someone interviewing you. Because usually the guy has a lot of things to do, right? He's obviously busy and he doesn't want to spend time with you in the call. So he wants to get it forward as quickly as possible. So you as an interviewer and the interviewee, you should tell him what you are trying to do, him or her, what you're trying to do. So you can say, okay, I'm reading the question and I'm thinking this needs to use an array. So if it's nice, which usually the users are not, but they will be like, okay, are you sure you're using an array? Maybe you can try to use something else. So that gives you a suggestion, right? So it's like, okay, don't use an array. Maybe use an object. Say, then you say, maybe I should use an object. Then he's like, okay, object also not very good. So that's also a hint. So usually a lot of interviewers will do that because they want to, sort of facilitate you to the answer. So unless you're like completely lost and then the guy is just uninterested, then he's just like, thank you for your time. But basically that was how my interview was. I basically didn't say anything. And then after 10 minutes, he was like, actually that's all the time we have. Thanks. So let you know the result in 2 weeks, which is obviously no result. Yeah.
Can you use Google to get it?
Wow, hard question. Yes and no. I think you can use Google if you have an iPad, but a lot of times they want you to share your screen so they can see your mouse. Yeah. My tip is to use 2 screens, then have like a cheat sheet beside it, basically like some cheat sheet. Obviously, you don't want to be typing to ChatGPT or like the interview, right? Because they can hear it. So get a keyboard or something. Get a silent keyboard or an iPad.
Yeah,
No, but in all seriousness, usually you can't. So you can write your notes, you can write your notes somewhere. Usually you can't, but if you can, I will hire you because you're resourceful. Yeah. Okay.
One more question. So if I want to do this to some problem, but didn't manage to get to the solution, but I'm able to write my solution in pseudocode or commands, would that be would that make me go to the next like interview? Maybe I don't have some code, but like you roughly know what I'm thinking, how I'm solving it, but I don't have the solution.
Do you have any repeat questions?
Yes.
Summarize.
That's okay.
Okay, so
Essentially, I give you 80% of the solution, but not 100%.
okay, so the question for those online and people who didn't hear it, is if I manage to get 80% correct, but not 100%, would I be able to pass it? I think the question,
First 10 minutes very short.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very short.
Okay, so there are 3 tiers, I feel, when it comes to a coding question. One is this guy is just incompetent. Like after 10 minutes, I'm gonna be like watching videos already while he's solving it. That's if you fall the first category. This guy is just out, like you're just not interested already. And then second, so one is here, right? Spectrum is here. This guy is like completely out. And then there's the other spectrum, which is this guy is completely super smart, can hire, subject to other stuff, basically technical skill wise. And then there's the middle group, which is the 50-50. Means you usually want to fall between this because we're not that smart, right? We can't be on that spectrum, right? So the average people will fall in that 50-50. So the more that you can try to, so I think my answer is like related to what I said just now. The more you can try to articulate your process, the more you can skew yourself towards the winning end. So you can solve it 80%, but you couldn't get the exact answer, but you can, but your whatever your explanation and your thought process shows me that with Google and AI you can probably get there because you are probably just nervous and there's a time limit you couldn't get there. That shows me that you are probably like at that end and probably you like swing you to the next round.
So that means you don't have to solve 100%.
Yeah, usually you don't have to solve 100%. But if you solve 100%, then you basically you guarantee yourself to the next round. Yeah. If you don't try to cheat your way through by saying a bunch of answers that don't make sense, and then if the interviewer is nice, they will tell you, oh, well, a hash map is good. They go, oh yeah, I always thought hash map is good.